I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. We have a challenge with the lighting system, but I hope we can still do it. So,
Oh, okay. Let
yep.
me see. All right, but I think I can see you, and I bet everybody can see you.
Okay.
Is everybody able to see Doc? This is Dr. Lewis Muchile. Guys, I promised you I will bring Dr. Lewis Muchile to our lives today, and here he is. Guys in the group have been so excited. Caro, I can see you here. Good to see you, Caro. Thank you, everybody. So we're about what? 74 members online already. Guys, let's like, let's share. Today we are hearing all this from the horse's mouth. So, Doc,
Yes. Yes. How are you?
my people have been asking for you.
I'm finally here.
Yes, you come here and tell them as it is. I've been trying, and I think I'm usually so soft with them. They need to hear
Yeah.
it from you. The kind of information I've been sharing with them is hearsay, research that I've looked up online from the likes of you and other doctors. Then I share, I test it, I try it on myself, test it, and then I divulge the information to my followers. Yeah. But today
Okay.
I'm really excited that you honored this invite to come on board and just to educate people about healthy living, basically. Sindio?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure
So
to
without,
be here because
yeah.
I've also wanted to do such types of talks, but unfortunately,
Yes.
we are always up and down trying to change lives all over. So we hope to do more of this because these things touch people directly. And it's just a
Yeah.
pleasure for me to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
Good. Great. Thank you so much. So I have a lot of questions that people have been asking. They have been
Yeah.
posting questions on my WhatsApp group. We have two WhatsApp groups. And people have been. I posted the poster earlier today, and I told them to start asking these questions. So
Okay.
maybe without wasting so much time, I can go right into the first question, whereby
Okay.
someone was asking, how is someone with diabetes supposed to do intermittent fasting?
First of all, is that this person are they on any therapy? What type of therapy? Because there are people who are diabetic and are not on therapy. There are people who are
Okay.
diabetic and are on oral drugs
Mm-hmm.
and they are not on insulin therapy.
Okay.
So it gets challenging when you're trying to advise somebody to get on intermittent fasting when they are on insulin therapy. Because I want you to understand that most people who get a challenge, most diabetic patients who get a challenge with the fasting are actually on insulin therapy. And unfortunately, they will blame fasting for hypoglycemia and not the insulin therapy. And yet, insulin is a hypoglycemic agent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that intentionally because it's the side effect of insulin. So it takes your blood sugars to lower than normal levels. So understand this, that in our blood, we have a normal range of glucose, right?
Yes.
Beyond it, above it, that is hyperglycemia. Unfortunately, that hyperglycemia is what the system understands as diabetes. That is not true. Now, below that level, that is hypoglycemia. So the body will always struggle to maintain this. Whether you eat carbohydrates or you don't eat carbohydrates, the body will always find a way to maintain this normal level. Now the challenge comes in when you're in insulin therapy. So insulin is supposed to drop that blood sugar from higher levels to this normal range, but it takes it to lower than normal. So that is hypo. So now the body sends you into cravings because it now has to take in more sugars so that it tops up that level to back to normal, and that's a challenge. So people confuse the side effect of insulin with the side effect of fasting. So when you're diabetic and you want to start intermittent fasting, first of all, we need to know which drugs are you on.
Mm.
When you know the drugs that you're on, we'll understand if these types of drugs are
Mm.
have a chance to take you into hypo. Like
Okay,
drugs like yes,
someone has commented they are using met for something.
metformin.
Yes,
You
metformin.
see, you
I
see
think
a
they are
drug like
just using
metformin.
metformin.
Yeah, a drug like metformin is called a euglycemic agent, euglycemic, which means it cannot take you into hypo. So it only brings your blood sugars back to normal. So that means if you're on metformin, because that is like a standard drug for pre-diabetes and diabetes. So if you're
Yes.
on metformin alone, you can easily start intermittent fasting so that you get it out of your system anyway. But Betty,
Yes.
let me be very categorical here. Diabetes therapy does not work. I'm saying that because these drugs, their function is to increase the rate at which blood glucose is being pumped into cells. So this is how I'll explain it in a simple way, and I hope we have time because
We have
Leon
time. We
Leon
have
Leslie.
time for as long as people, if somebody wants to hear the truth and they're in for it. Personally, I have time. It's Saturday night. So
Good.
if you have time, I have time. Whoever will have time will be here together.
So this is the point.
Mm-hmm.
Glucose has three fats in our system. Three fats. Anytime you eat any type of carbohydrate, you will narrow it down to either glucose or fructose, the smallest carbohydrate. So if you're taking a fruit, for example, you will absorb fructose. When you absorb fructose, that is the only sugar that will be converted in the liver to fats, triglycerides.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll keep on being fat as you eat those fruits. Number two, that fat, the liver does not like to store fat.
Mm-hmm.
So if this fat accumulates in the liver, that is what we call a fatty liver. And that is the mother of insulin resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And insulin resistance is the mother of the metabolic syndrome, which is obesity, which is diabetes, hypertension, high triglycerides, and kidney and heart problems. So all these are called syndromes. So a collection of conditions. They hail from one center, which is insulin resistance. So fruits will keep you hooked on the health system. Number two, if that carbohydrate is giving you glucose, that glucose will have three outcomes in the system, or three fats. Number one, we have three types of muscles. We have cells. We have the muscle cells, and then we have the liver cells, and then we have the fat cells.
Yes.
Now, these three are actually where glucose is supposed to be utilized or stored.
Mm-hmm.
So when you absorb that glucose, you will take it into the muscle cell if you are active to use that, okay, for activity.
Okay.
If you are active but lesser activity, so that means you're not utilizing more of that glucose. So that means you will have a temporary storage of glucose in the liver as glycogen.
Doc,
So the
just
liver
a second. Just a
okay.
second. I'm sorry. I'm trying to put you on big screen. Someone is telling me to put you on big screen. How do I do that? Sorry to cut you short.
I have no idea. I'm also analog.
Let me test. Let me try. Because I was assuming if I tap, that way. I hope it's okay.
Yeah, good.
Makes more sense, yeah?
Sure, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So I was explaining the fate of glucose. So one, this glucose will go into muscle cells and give you the activity, the ATP, which is the energy currency of the cell.
Yeah.
Number two, this glucose will go into the liver, and then the liver combines two molecules of glucose to form glycogen. So this is a temporary storage of glucose. So remember this, that if you don't eat, your body will now go into hypoglycemia. So the liver will just break down easily this glycogen to give you glucose to maintain the homeostasis.
Yeah.
The third fate, which is the most dangerous one, is you are not active, but you're consuming daily carbohydrates, because 90% of our plates are carbohydrates.
True.
So this glucose has nowhere to go. So now you are not working out, so it's not going into the muscles for utilization. The liver has stored glycogen, stores enough for the 24 hours of fasting, and now the excess glucose is converted into fats and pumped into the fat cells. That is how that's how people start growing fat. So if you tell somebody to stop eating carbohydrates and eat high protein diets, and they tell you proteins will make me fat, remind them of that effect of glucose.
Yeah, sure.
Then the body is not stupid. The body is storing this glucose in form of fat because it is expecting one day, okay, it's actually preparing for the worst, that one day there'll be a disaster. Look at Mombasa right now, there are floods and people are suffering. So the body had already prepared itself for that disaster, because naturally our systems are adapted to suffering and mechanisms of how to get out of this suffering, and they're also adapted to survival. So it's storing this fat, which is a high calorie, storage form of glucose, so that in future when you fast or when you starve or when there's a natural calamity and you will not eat, it will burn this fat to give you either glucose or ketone bodies.
Yeah.
Let's sink that in. Now, 1 molecule of carbohydrate or protein will give you 4 kilocalories of energy.
1.
Those two. So 1 for carbohydrate, 4. 1 for protein, 4. Make a wild guess for the fat.
For the fat.
Yes.
I don't know.
Just make a wild guess.
I'm assuming probably 2.
So let me tell you, 1 for fat will give you 9, which basically means double the energy that you can get in a protein molecule or a carbohydrate molecule.
So
9.
are you trying to say fat is better than carbohydrate?
Exactly. That's why I always tell you
protein.
that. Exactly. And better than both of them combined.
Now, let me ask. Now, can we define this fat, which is better than those? I think I know of. Is it avocado, macadamia nuts? I don't know. Am I on the right track?
You're on the right track, but we are talking about the fat that is stored in fat cells.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you burn that fat, the energy that you'll get out of it is actually double the energy that you'll get when you're burning 1 molecule of a carbohydrate or 1 molecule of protein. And therefore, it is not right to tell the masses that carbohydrates are energy-giving foods.
I get your point. So
Are we together?
What you are saying, is this what you mean by when I hear people talking about your body being fat adapted?
Yes.
Okay. This is
So
what you're talking about, your body being able to utilize the stored fat for energy, as opposed to feeding it with the, for it working on the calories you are feeding it, like at the onset. Is that what you're talking about?
Because the body exists in only 2 forms. One is the carbohydrate dependent and the other one is the fat adapted. So the more you take in carbohydrate, the more your body stores. Because remember, when glucose in blood goes up after a carbohydrate meal, the next thing that follows is the body instructs the pancreas to bring in insulin.
Yes.
And insulin is a key that opens up those 3 cells that I mentioned: the fat cells, the liver cells, and the muscle cells. So this is the cell.
Yeah, okay, huh?
So this is the cell, like the keyhole. So this is the cell. And then insulin comes like a key. So opens up this cell by binding to a receptor on this cell. So it opens it up. And then when this cell opens up, glucose flows from blood into these cells.
Wow. So now tell these people, yeah? Can you tell us how, now that we understand that energy from fat is even better and it's more supreme than energy that comes from protein or carbohydrates. So how do we get our bodies fat adapted? What is the easiest way or what the best way to get your body fat adapted?
2 things: fasting and healthy keto.
Wow.
When I say healthy keto, I mean 0 carbohydrate, because remember, when you eat a ketogenic diet, which is basically fat, protein, and vegetable, vegetable has fiber, which is still carbohydrate. And that fiber is broken down slowly and then gives you a steady flow of glucose in the system. So it will not cause a spike in insulin. So understand this. When you have high insulin in the system, you are in a storage form. So you are storing glucose in form of fat. So you're not burning it. That is what we call carbohydrate dependent.
Okay.
So when you stop intake of carbohydrates and start eating healthy keto and start intermittent fasting and even prolonged periodic fast, what you're doing is actually, the aim of those is to lower your insulin level.
Yeah.
Once it lowers your insulin level, guess what is happening? You start burning fat. So the fat cells you start burning the fat and bringing back that as glucose and also as ketone bodies. So that's how you start losing weight. Yeah.
How long do you have to fast for your body to start burning fat? How many hours?
The first 12 hours, the first 8 hours, you will burn the glucose in blood, and then you'll go into hypo. The liver will start breaking down glycogen. After 24 hours, you have exhausted glycogen in the liver. So beyond 24 hours, you get into autophagy. You start getting into this fat burning. So you start burning fat. So that is beyond 24 hours.
So that is why, is that the reason why, personally, like when I was fasting, when I was doing long fasts, I would go maybe 36, 48, 72 hours and so on and so forth. I would find myself losing a lot of weight. But every time I tried the 16-8, for me, it never ever worked. And I have seen this comment from a lot of people saying, I have been practicing fasting 16-8 method. That is why they fast for 16 hours and they have an eating window of 8 hours, and someone tells you they are not losing weight. Okay, so does it
Yeah.
mean it's because they have not yet gotten to that to the 24th hour mark where now the body starts producing ketones and fat burning process begins at that point? Is it what it means, or could there be something else related?
The reality is, if you're starting on fasting, when you're trying to lose weight for the first time, it's not easy to do these things. We all fail. So people don't understand that failure is part of that process. So let me tell you this. People will tell you that they are fasting or they are doing intermittent fasting, but they forget snacking is a meal. The body understands snacking as a meal. That is
Yes.
one. So they'll tell you I do intermittent fasting, but I eat groundnuts, but I snack, but I use energy drinks to just help me maintain the energies.
Yeah.
This is sugar that you're taking in, so therefore you're not fasting.
Yes.
Number two, moving from carbohydrate dependent to fat adapted is not an easy step. There's a transition phase where you'll experience all the symptoms of carbohydrate withdrawal. So the body's is used to taking this carbohydrate. So it's actually trying to push you back to the carbohydrates because it's a quick fix of energy and the dopamine and the addiction. So it's trying to push you there. So most people fail at this state. So they will lie to you that I'm doing intermittent fasting, but they have not understood the basics. Also remember, these people, like I told somebody that the first meal will come in at noon and then the next meal comes in at 8 p.m. This is a gap, and in between there is no eating. Do you know what they told me? I thought intermittent fasting is from 2 to 8 I'll be eating, and then from 8 to 2 I'm fasting.
So they keep on eating from 1 minute to they keep snacking during that entire window.
Yeah, so what you do, you're supposed to. So they think that this window is an eating window, so I should eat actively and then fast actively.
Yeah.
So I think the reality is we should understand everybody from their perspective. You understand how these people are doing, and that's the reason why you need to explain it to them in the language that they understand. Because somebody like a lawyer will know if I eat ugali that I've eaten, but if I eat a bowl of popcorn, I've not eaten anything. If I eat 2 bowls of rice, that is not eating. Yeah. So you need to understand, you need to explain it and to each individual as per their demands and na pia situation yao, because others hata tukiwaambia wakule hizo foods hawana chance ya kupata those foods. So it becomes a serious problem. But once you explain the process to them and also you explain that failure is part of the process, weight loss is it will happen. But there is a plateau phase somewhere.
Okay. Now, Doc, before I ask you the next question, I want you to tell these people, first of all, I think we have 181 people now on. Can you please introduce yourself? Because the next question I want to ask, I want your credentials also to play a role in that, as a doctor. Just tell them who you are and what it is that you do, and I mean how you came about all these, educating people about healthy living. Because clearly, why I ask you to do so is because you are not like so many doctors. Very few doctors will come out here and tell you the truth as it is. Very few doctors will give you will advise you to change your lifestyle without a prescription. So kindly, can you just introduce yourself? Let us know who you are. I mean, how do we identify with you?
I've been asked that question several times, and I don't know if I should reveal the secret, because I rely on people thinking what I do for life, if I'm a real doctor or I'm a TikTok doctor.
Yes.
Well, my name is Dr. Leimuch Muchile from the Health and Wellness Spot, one of your favorite doctors, and I am actually a certified doctor. So, so now I work under the national government across borders in Marsabit and Moyale. Basically, I'm based in Moyale, and those who have interacted with me know me better. So now, what I do for a living, I ease the pain and suffering from God's people. And I glorify God through that, easing pain and suffering from the lives of God's people. Also, I help people relieve themselves from slavery of the big pharma and the food industry. So I have deep information about nutrition, I have deep information about medicines and how they work, and I use that to basically take you back to the cause of your health condition. And when we do that, we make it easier for you to understand healthcare. I come in between the health system and the general public so that I bridge the gap between healthcare and the public. So that's what I do. Yeah.
Good. And your people are here camping and clapping for you. They've come from your page.